What's up, guys? Welcome to the Red Tape Podcast. I'm your host, Demerious Nelson. This is brought to you by For the One Media, where we move progressively forward in a conservative way. Man, we're going to talk about the Boy Scouts and the bankruptcy. Just briefly talk about the bankruptcy because I don't really care. What I do care about are those men who are leading those young men and now women and abusing them. So I got a problem with that. Then we're also going to discuss Walking Dead, what I'm learning from the new Walking Dead. Hey, this is the Red Tape Podcast. Hey, what's going on, guys? All right, we're going to get right to it. The Boy Scouts. Oh, man, look, I never was a part of the Boy Scouts, but I know a lot of men who were a part of the Boy Scouts. I don't know if any of them were abused. And if they were, I pray for their sanity. I pray for their mind, and hopefully they were able to get over that just horrific hurdle. Now, they got all these different cases in the Boy Scouts, as y'all know, from all the years the Boy Scouts has existed. And I do believe, first and foremost, I do believe what the Boy Scouts teach young men. I know we have women in there now, young ladies in there now, which, okay, whatever. But I do like what they teach and show these young men and what they stand for. But it just sucks to see that they have to be caught up in, and I'm sure some of it been covered up by those who knew about these situations because, you know, we've seen that trend of covering things up. But I do have to admit that I hate the fact that we consistently have men, sexual predators, abusing people, abusing children. That bothers me. It makes me sick. It really pisses me off because I feel like when you're in charge of someone, when you're responsible for a life, when that is being given to you, and that's the ultimate responsibility you can have, even greater than your own life is being responsible for someone else's. And when you've been charged with this task, or you've been cleared or had a background check, and you in the middle of these people, and then you act like Freddy Krueger and abusing them for the sake of your own vile, perverse ways, it's a real issue. And I have a real problem with this when I see it, when I hear about it. Let me say that. When I read about it and see it in that form, it bothers me. It makes you want to take them to the stake and put them inside a building, if you've seen Nightmare on Elm Street, and burn Freddy Krueger for those heinous acts against those children. And that's what you should look at. That's how you should view yourself if you're doing these things. You need to get help. Because it makes no sense to treat people this way. So now the Boy Scouts is up against it. They're having to potentially filing for bankruptcy because they have so many lawsuits ahead of them. And rightly so. Because if these people do know about this, there has to be something that needs to be done. See, man, when we have something, we have control of a situation. When we create an organization and we allow it to go to crap quick, we only can look at ourselves. We really do have to, when we're blessed with the opportunity to have a chance to take an organization to the heights and to the once prestigious organization like this, we have to make sure we manage it appropriately. And one way to manage a situation like this, you can't sweep things under the rug. You have to let it be known. And I'm not saying that the Boy Scouts did, but if they did, in any organization that do sweep things under the rug like this that affect other people, something has to be said. Something must be done. And these men must be held accountable. As I feel like anything, we all will be held accountable one day. Maybe not in this life, but definitely in the next. You can bet your bottom dollar on that, as they say. So when I think about the Boy Scouts, I just remember just the camping and all the battles they would have to get, and learning to help senior citizens and doing all those different things for the community. I think it builds a well-rounded young man. Now, I know the young ladies are involved now, and people are like, oh, that's great, which I know sometimes women like to penetrate things that we do. I guess we just can't have our own thing. And I wish that people would realize that it's okay for men to have certain things, but men, this is what happens when you do it to yourself. When you don't keep your armor strong, when you allow weak moments, in whatever it is that you do in your own life, as I have, then you allow scrutiny to come in. You allow yourself to be scrutinized, and then you allow your own organization that you created to be tainted. So we have to do better as men, definitely. We have to do better for our kids, families, for ourselves, because we are the ultimate protectors of life. We are here to be the covering for all, for women, kids, even for other men. Some of us have to be covering for each other. Those who set out for the war were men. So now if we creating war and we wreaking havoc in our own communities, in our own households, in our own organizations, then we are doomed, as you can see. So now the woman has to step up and has to be more, do more, because we do decide to do less. We decide to do nothing at times. We decide to be lazy. We decide not to do the things that we once did. Now I understand the world changed, and I get equality and equal rights and all those things, and that does matter because we are equal. As human beings, we should respect all and love the equality as men and women. At the essence of everything, we are men and women. And as a man, there's tasks that we have to take. There's things that we have to do. There's charges that we've been assigned with, and that is to be keepers of the earth, protectors of our humanity, not destroyers of it. But we have become destroyers. And we destroy everything in our path, it seems like. We're just consuming whatever and whenever. And now the rooster has came home to crow. That's what they say, right? And in that, we having to restructure every single thing we do. We having to fight back on our heels against everything that comes at us now because we are not sound enough to do the right things. And it's including me. Haven't been sound enough in everything that I've done. So then you allow doubt to creep in from others who have looked at you as pillars. Then you allow yourself to maybe even doubt your own, you just doubt yourself. And then in doubting yourself, now your confidence is lacking. And now you could possibly be destroyed within your own mind. And that's the one thing that we have to keep is our mind. Our body's going to fail because it's just human nature. Physically, men in our youth, most of us are strong and we're able to do things that we know we won't be able to do when we get older. Or some of us think we can still do when we get older. And then that's when you hit that midlife crisis. And that's what we're in right now, crisis. We created these organizations and then we destroy them and we create crises. We create a crisis, We create a crisis and now we stuck. And now we got our hands tied. So we got to honor ourselves. And by honoring ourselves, we have to learn to honor others. We have to love ourselves. If you were treated wrong when you were little, don't mean you do the same thing. You don't keep the cycle going. You have to break the cycle. You have to break the yoke that binds us up, that bind you up. We can't keep going because when we do things like this, if we abuse other people, we only bind them up. Now everyone's bound. And no one's there to help set free others who are tied up because they're stuck within their own selves. They have consumed their own minds because that is how it happened. Now there are hurdles that other people can place in your life when you are in your youth because you don't know any better because, like I said, you are put in the charge, in the care, per se, of others. So then to have you abused, to have you misused, if you have been that person or you are the one that is initiating these heinous acts, then shame on you. But if you've been that person on the other end of the spectrum, I'm sure you understand how it feels to be abused, whether it's sexually, mentally, whatever the case is. Physical abuse is unacceptable. So seeing the Boy Scouts file bankruptcy is, you get mixed feelings. It's sad because, man, it's a good organization for young boys to have somewhere to go. But then it's like it's good. Well, I don't want to file bankruptcy. I want, in the land of capitalism, every company should fail on its own. Shouldn't have help. So I was reading about the Boy Scouts have it's a certain loophole when you're being sued and bankrupt. I mean, when you're being sued, that you can use bankruptcy in your company to kind of set a deadline. So if anyone doesn't come up forward, or they not comfortable enough coming forward to file a lawsuit against the Boy Scouts of America, by the date that these guys set to file bankruptcy, then from that point on, the person's case is null and void. They can come forward, but nothing. They will not reap any benefits from the physical abuse that they have received. So there are people with these families who are dealing with the lawsuit, these lawyers who are trying to do their best to keep this from happening, because I guess I feel like no matter how much time elapses, you should be able to file your case. So if you are a person who's been abused by the Boy Scouts, make sure you get up there and you file your case. And more importantly, you get a hold of that person that is committing these crimes and put them out there. Like I said before, in order to get to the truth, the root of everything, you got to have the light. The light has to shine on the situation. That's why I tell my family, if I'm doing something wrong, if I'm not doing something up to your liking, and you have an issue, don't be quiet. Tell me. That's with anything. Open your mouth. What they say in the hood, closed mouths don't get fed. If your mouth closed, you're probably not eating. If you want to know something, you got to ask. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, as my dad says. And you got to make the most noise in situations like this. You got to throw the flag. I teach my daughter this all the time. I tell her, look, if somebody do anything to you, you open your mouth. If you need to learn something in school, you open your mouth. You don't just sit there and act like you know it and you don't. You don't just sit there and take abuse when you shouldn't. And speak up and let us discern what it is and what it isn't. You know, give your parents that chance. And if you're an adult now, you're dealing with this, you know, give yourself that chance to go speak to a professional so you can get help, because I know that's heavy to deal with. I know that's a lot to deal with. I can only imagine. Especially as a kid and you're holding it in for, you know, it happened to you 7, 8 years old. You don't really understand because it's something strange. It's something unfamiliar. It's something you know that isn't right, and some man or woman is abusing you in some way that you know doesn't feel right, you know isn't right. And you got to live with that for the next 10, 20 years. I mean, what do you think that does to your family? That can create a monster. And then they can end up doing the same thing. Or I can create a monster and they're going to end up defending their family at all costs. Off the whim, just hearing just anything, just an air blow of something about their kids. And then they going off. It's rightly so, as you should. But I also want to say, just forgive yourself for that situation. Forgive yourself. Don't allow somebody else's vile ways to destroy you. Be strong, be confident, and continue to love yourself. Topics like this are hard to discuss because it's just, you just don't want to see anybody abused. I don't want to see anybody abused in any way. And then when you take someone's innocence away in this way, giving something that God has given them to share with another person, with that significant other, and then for it to be snatched away from somebody who just don't care about themselves or you, they hate themselves, it just pisses me off. Sometimes I don't even know what to say when I see things like this. You know, for me, you know, for y'all, you might not think much of it, but for me, I think a lot of it because it's the same as the mass shootings in our country. It's the same level, if not worse. It's not, if not worse, because it's an assault on the character. It's an assault on the mentality of a person. It changes some people. It changes people, man. You see it in America, abuse, and they still dealing with it. Now they have mental health issues. Now, I don't want to labor on this issue, but it is something that y'all have to think about. It's something that I constantly think about. When you have family, when you have kids, it's something that most parents fear. if not all parents. It's something that you consider. You can't just leave your kids to anyone. It's just like the Haltom. This is different. I don't know all the details of the story, but in Haltom City, around my area in Texas, these two young girls. I mean, young. I don't think they were even over 10 years old. Maybe one of them was, but I know one was 7. 2 little black girls. Mom went to the store and left them in the care of a friend, and they're at the pool, and both of them drowned. They found at the bottom of the pool together. And, it's things you got to think about, man. We have to be more watchful of our kids. I mean, I'm always talking about community, but in the community, we do have to protect ourselves as well. Because not everybody in the community, there are wolves in your community among the sheep. So we got to make sure we got lions out there to defend them. Remember that in your community. All right, man, it's a hard transition, but y'all just make sure you check us out at www.fortheonemedia.com. You can also check out the Red Tape Podcast on all streaming platforms, man. Give us a chance. Give us a shot. All right, man. I know that's heavy, guys. I know that's heavy. But hey, heavy is the head that wears the crown, baby. If you want the crown, you got to address all issues. Just like at the beginning of Game of Thrones when the young Brandon broke his leg, he was paralyzed. And in the beginning, he had the people come to him about all their problems, all their issues, and he had to sit there and listen all day. Because you got to care about your community. At least you got to act like you do. Definitely don't try to destroy it. So you sit there and answer all those questions. So you want to be kings, men, you got to sit there and listen to everybody's complaints, everybody's concerns. Because that's what you have to do. And then you got to speak and address it. That's what you have to do. If you want to be a king. And then you got to protect and defend at all costs. All right, I just want to say that. Also now, I've been watching, you got to take your mind away from things a lot of times, guys. So I try to watch a little TV every now and then. I know Netflix is just loving my subscription and everybody else's subscription. I mean, most people have Netflix. So, The Walking Dead came out on Sunday. So I started watching it last night. I'm in the first 2 episodes of season 9. I'm not gonna ruin it for all y'all, but it's pretty slow right now. But it feel like it's how Walking Dead is. It starts a story, but it's getting there. But there's a lot of love connections, man. That's the only thing that I'm like, man, let's get right to the action. But we gotta get all these love stories out because I understand they building a community. It's interesting though to take on it as far as reestablishing, reconstituting all the people who have been living for themselves, defending themselves at all costs. And now they're trying to build something together. So there's a lot of tension. So I think it's amazing to think about. I think it's amazing to see. And when you watch it, just think about it. Think about how America was formed and all the trouble that it had in establishing America. So it's kind of has that tone to it for me. But I look at everything with a different eye. But you'll see it for yourself if you pick it up. You'll just see that tone. So it's just something to check out. Yeah, I'm also working on this book called The Outsiders, 8 Unconventional CEOs and the Radically Rational Blueprint for Success. So I'll let y'all know how it goes. Hopefully it's good. I got a book that my buddy's big on energy and things for healing. So I'm going to check his book out. Because we always sending each other books. So he's like, all right, man, I read your C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. Now you read this. That's all right. I'm going to check it out. So I'm going to start that today. I learned from this old guy, and this is it for me, guys. I learned from this old guy. I seen he had a few books. I was like, man, you reading all those books? Oh, yeah, I read 3 different books a day. I'm like, wow, yeah, I'll just switch it up. So that's what I started doing. So I try to have 3 books going at the same time. And they're like, what's the purpose in that? But it just breaks up the monotony. Some books in some parts of it can get, it can be tough to get through. So he's like, all right, I'll put it down and come back to it. So that's what I try to do throughout the day, read different ones. Hopefully we can all finish them. I know I say jack of all trades, you master at none. So, hopefully I can get a hold of one and be like, all right, I'm going to finish it up real quick. But we'll see how it go, guys. But all you do, guys, in life, make sure you do it to the best of your ability. Get out there and get your reading on. Get out there and learn. Get out there and go fishing. Do something other than sitting in the house. I mean, unless it's raining outside. And it looks like in Texas it's not going to be raining for a long time. Also, make sure you keep in your mind, if you can donate to those areas, to those areas who need relief, those disaster areas, Bahamas, wherever. Do what you can to give what you can, if you can. And if you can't do any of that, you just send up some prayers for those people, that if there are people who lost their lives, that they can be discovered and not washed out to sea. If there are people who are still trapped, that they can be found. And that those who are in need can get the help that they need. Because the U.S. Coast Guard is out there right now doing their job. And I'm going to talk about that in my next episode, man. America. The America the hated. America the hated. Hey, guys, this has been the Red Tape Podcast. I'm your host, Demerious Nelson. This is brought to you by For The One Media. Hey, y'all have a great and grand day, man. Let's get it. Let's get out here and make it happen. Peace.